How much do you know about K-food? How much hanshik have you eaten? We invite you into the world of Korean food, of course including the history and culture of it. We'll introduce trendy foods and famous restaurants on Dish of the Day with Chef Ryan Phillips. If you're wondering, what could I try from Korea that I haven't heard about, then maybe today will be the day when you're first introduced to the dish and the ingredient we're talking about with Chef Ryan in his kitchen down in Suwon. Good morning, Chef.
Hey, Peter, how you doing, man?
Not bad at all. You remember last week, I think I was wearing the mask in the studio. It got worse and worse, my throat and my voice, till it was almost not coming out at all at the end of the week. So I'm sounding much better, and you're looking fit and rested.
Were you at that free BTS concert, screaming your heart out all night? Is that what's going on?
I would love that to have been the reason, but I was watching that on the flicks. Did you manage to catch any of it?
No, sir. I was busy slinging tamales up on the edge of Itaewon, Gopchangbokkeum. I was doing a pop-up. It was so much fun. Yeah.
Fantastic. Have you had a good weekend? Are you well rested and in your kitchen?
I could use some more rest, honestly. It was an awesome event, but that was Saturday, and it wore me out. I'm still kind of recovering. Plus, I've got this giant catering. Thank you so much for letting me do Zoom today. Check this out, man. Look at what I've been up to. Can you see this?
Oh, look at all that barbecue. Is that like brisket?
Yeah, this is brisket. That's whole brisket. And that's only half of what I've sliced this morning.
Wow.
And then 30 kilos went out to a client this morning, hot, ready to serve. They're going to put it on a buffet line a little bit later today.
Wow.
And I hope it's arriving right now. It better be. Korea's amazing with delivery drivers.
Yeah.
So I scheduled it yesterday. Gentleman showed up here a little after 8 a.m., ready to run my box, of hot food up there. But when you're talking about almost $1,600 worth of food, it makes me a little nervous. So I'm hoping to get a message here real soon that it arrived and the client's very happy.
What's the rest of it for then? That same event, but later on?
Yes. It's a corporate catering, and a good friend of mine is the caterer for the event.
Wow.
And she wanted to add some of what I do to their menu. And happy to do it. So, but yeah, been busy. I got more to do. I got to cook about 20 kilos of steak and 10 kilos of chicken to deliver tomorrow. Amazing. And the brisket goes there as well. Yeah, busy days.
I wish I could get an invite to that corporate event. Today's hashtag, Ryan, is sonyeon, or boy. When you hear boy, what comes to mind for you? Are we still boys?
Old boy. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to be like a kid on Saturday. We were having so much fun in the Papa. The Papa was at a really popular bar with some high-end cocktails, and the staff kept giving us little shots of mezcal and tequila.
Wow!
And I'm a little old for that, but I bounced back okay. Not too terrible.
Yeah, when you're no longer classed as a boy. Old boy is a good term. I like that because that still has the freshness of boy in it, but it does have the caveat that you are old now. I don't know if you do that in the US, but in the UK, if you're, especially from like a boys' school, and then you're like in your 40s or 50s, you're known as let's say for my school, it was Queen Elizabeth, so I'm an Elizabethan old boy.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know. I've never heard that before. That's kind of cool.
So it's not the same in the States.
Use an old boy.
Yeah, like they're the old boys.
Just alumni.
Yeah.
Just alumni, I guess. Yeah.
That's a little more to the point, I suppose. Today, we are getting into something that I previewed in our number one that I think a lot of people find maybe a bit squeamish and might not eat on a regular basis. But here in Korea, we always emphasize we eat everything from the roots and the greens that people consider weeds to every part of most animals, right?
I'm so grateful for Korea, expanding my boundaries over the years. The things that I think are strange now versus when I first came here, has changed dramatically. It's opened my mind to different ingredients.
Yeah.
And yes, you know, why waste any part of an animal? You know, why leave anything unforaged that is edible and has nutrition for us? So today is a little bit of a weird one.
Yeah. What are we talking about then, Ryan, today?
Gopchangbokkeum.
Gopchangbokkeum. So we need to write this in English on our little caption, and I was scratching my head at how best to write this. So how would you describe it in English?
Well, for this particular dish, it is usually pork small intestines.
Pork small intestines, to get totally biological about it, right?
Right. We do a lot of beef intestines here as well, and they're amazing. Pork intestines are pretty darn good too, guys. You know, don't knock it till you try it.
I don't know if I can tell the difference with intestines. Like, of course, between pork and beef, you can really tell the difference with the meats, right? They look different. They have different textures, depending on the cut, of course. But I've definitely had both, but I can't tell which was which. If you asked me to tell you the difference, I don't think I'd know.
Well, you can usually see at the market, I can tell the difference. Cooked, it depends on kind of how they're prepared, you know, before I could be sure. Or, and the first times that I had these in Korea, I honestly wasn't so sure what I was having.
No, they're just these little tubes, right? Rubbery tubes.
Yeah, I didn't know, and it was delicious, but I wasn't so sure what I was eating. And actually, my parents were with me. They were here visiting the first time in Korea.
Okay.
And we just smelled this delicious smelling restaurant. And we're like, let's check it out. And we're eating this. And my dad's like, I think I know what this is. Because in the American South, folks would eat pork intestines as well.
I'm sorry.
And so he recognized it and I didn't. And I loved it. I don't know if my mom enjoyed it quite as much because she was a little nervous, you know. Hi, Mom. But you know, again, you don't want to waste any part of the animal. No. We make sausages all around the world and we use these parts, guys. This is just a different way to do it. You know, instead of just using the casing, they're stir fried. And let me start by saying, the way these are prepped in the markets is really, it really is cool. They fill them with air.
Oh, wow.
Okay. They have an compressed air gun. All right. Now, I don't know what they did back in the day, but at least nowadays they fill them with air.
Yeah.
And then they flip them inside out and wash them really, really well and then flip them back the other way.
Oh, wow.
And so if part of the reason why you might be squeamish towards this is thinking, oh, but how do you clean those things?
Yeah.
These are really cleaned. And this dish, I got a feeling that back in the day in the markets, in the big markets, they're slaughtering animals and then they're selling everything else. And there's restaurants as well and food stalls, just everything in this big market.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, we need to figure out a way to sell all these parts. and when you put these ingredients together that I'm going to show you today, it's inexpensive, or it used to be inexpensive. It's inexpensive. It's quite delicious. And it's just, I think it really used to be a working man's food. What do you think, Peter? You think it would have been a working man's food?
Yeah, for sure, right? And you're right. The price has gotten more and more expensive, and different cuts of different parts of the digestive system are even more expensive. Maybe gopchang, among them all, is one of the still most affordable. But it must have started off that way. And it's still a food of the people. You wouldn't say like it's a luxury fine dining thing, although there are people who do find fancy things with it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I heard from some friends that are about my age or our age. I got a couple of years on Peter, but they were saying that when they were in college, there was this string of restaurants somewhere in Seoul that served this. Yeah. And they had really fond memories of finishing classes and just getting, it was I want to say they said it was only like 8,000 won or something for all three of them to have this huge. So you go into the restaurants and there's these iron griddles, great big iron griddles on your table. And it's so much food because you've got the gopchang, you've got the intestines, but you also have cabbage and probably some starch noodles and maybe some other veg. And so it's this mountain of food.
Yeah.
And it's so satisfying. You know, it's a little sweet, it's a little spicy. And probably drinks are flowing, you know?
Yes.
And so you and your college buddies could have a big meal and some drinks and probably only spend about $3 each.
Wow.
You know, back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not anymore, unfortunately, because even like soda and things like that are getting up to like $3. So yeah, the two parts of this, gopchang is the small intestines, which apparently some places in the West might call it chitterlings or chitlins for small intestines.
Chitlins. Yeah,
but that's
chitlins,
not a term that I'm very familiar with, and I'm guessing even some English speakers might not know what that means because it's not that common, right?
It's not terribly common, and even less common today than it was 20 years ago or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And I gotta say too that the freshness quality of what we use here, I would have to say is probably miles above. I think chitlins in the States are probably almost always frozen because we've got these huge meat packing places and they're far away from the people.
Yeah.
And so and some of the offal or some of the innards of animals, they're the first things to spoil. They spoil the quickest, right? Relative to meat.
Yeah.
And so they just freeze it and then it goes to market that way. What we use here, sure, there's some that are frozen, you know, but a lot of it is coming straight that day. I mean, not just what we're talking about today, but some of the other intestines, especially the beef ones. I mean, you're not getting out of that restaurant without spending, you know, $30 or $50 a person.
Yeah.
Because those are coming from the slaughter yard that same day. And those best restaurants, they sell out every single day.
Yeah, those are a real experience, right? And you can have it without all the other accoutrements that we're going to have today in the bokkeum. Bokkeum means like basically stir-fried or sautéed or something like that, or fried. Whereas you can just have it on the grill just as it is, and you can dip it in a little sauce or something like that. That can be a higher barrier for people who are like, intestines does not sound great. Edward saying, yeah, intestines sounds rough in English, but give it a try because gopchang is actually one of my favorite Korean foods. And yet it is people's favorites, right? Gopchang is really delicious because the gop is that texture, the fatty substance inside it, right? And so I'm a bit confused then, right? If they're washing it inside out, are they not like inadvertently scraping that off or washing that off?
Well, that was usually the beef gopchang, not the pork one. And that is a bit of a mystery to me too, Peter.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them rinsing it all out.
Yeah.
But then I've also gone to buy, because we've done it's like a Mexican dish, like tripas, and we've I'll braise that gopchang all whole, and the ones that have more gulp inside are more expensive than the other ones. So they're rinsing them out and then putting it back, putting some part of the bile back in, I guess. It doesn't sound good, but it's so good.
That gulp gives it the rich texture, that fatty substance. I remember you saying when we've talked about this before that in other parts of the world, maybe in Spanish-speaking parts where you got tripas, they're not leaving that in, right? You're maybe even considering that as dirty, like the things inside the intestines. And now you say tripas. Yeah, in the UK, tripe was a thing back in the day, referring to the lining of stomachs and other bits and pieces. But again, that's kind of fallen out of fashion. We'll get back in part two, maybe start cooking if you need to get things on the go, right?
Will do.
But this one is Chongbas featuring Naive, Our March. It is March the 24th, and we got Chef Ryan in his kitchen cooking up a storm in a big old fry pan I see there. What are we witnessing at the moment then, Chef Ryan? We're talking about Gopchangbokkeum, bokkeum meaning the fried aspect to it, and gopchang being the small intestines of cows or pigs, right?
All right. For those who are squeamish, all right, That's not so scary. Come on.
No,
Come on.
that looks okay because, like, sometimes it's whole as the tube, but if you did unravel it like you just did, it could be anything. It could be like a fish cake, which, again, some people might be squeamish about. And I see, wow, lots of noodles in there as well.
Right. It's got starch noodles. You know, what I really think happened is in the markets, they're like, we need something that we can fill people up on that doesn't cost too much and that is easily, you know, readily available. So the starch noodles, the damyeon, are one of the cheapest noodles, you know.
Yeah.
And then cabbage, one of the cheapest, most bulky kind of vegetable.
Yeah.
And then everywhere. And this is not the Napa cabbage. This is the yangpechu, or like the Western cabbage. Right?
Yeah.
Then there's a little bit of carrot in here. There's Peter's favorite, the good old perilla leaf.
Yay.
You know, is in there. Definitely some garlic. And then, of course, you're going to have some soy sauce around. You're going to have some gochujang around. You're going to have some gochugaru around. And you're going to have some soju around. Mm-hmm. And if you got those, a little bit of sugar usually goes into. If you got those, then you can make this dish.
That's it, right? And the texture of gopchang, right, is chewy, right? It's one of the chewy ones, and there's a lot of chewy textures in Korea, and they're all very different. Like the rice cake chewy is very different to this chewy because there's a bit of bounce there. And so when I first came, it did take a bit of getting used to certain cuts of meat. And gopchang, I've got to say, maybe it's been the last 10 years that I've really enjoyed it. And I do prefer other bits like the makchang or the taechang, the really fatty part.
I love that beef daechang.
Yeah, that's so good, right? So it's still not my favorite.
For those that are curious, that one tastes like the fat on a ribeye steak.
Yes.
Without the meat. That's what the daechang tastes like. It's so good.
So decadent and indulgent, but it's brilliant. So you've done what many Koreans will do, wrap it in a perilla leaf as well. There's perilla leaf in the fry, but then you wrap it as well.
Right. And they'll probably give you some lettuce leaves too. I just happen to have perilla here today.
Yeah.
And unlike Peter, I love perilla.
It has a brightness to the flavor that lettuce just doesn't have. Lettuce is so much plainer. But I am okay now. I've told you I'm getting better with perilla leaf. So when it's in the fry, that's totally fine. And then when it complements the flavor as well, like that's kind of spicy and there's a sweetness to it. So I like it then, yeah. It's good.
It's great. Now, there is a distinct flavor that is gopchang.
Uh-huh.
And some might describe it as kind of gamey.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, one part of the process of making this, actually the first step, is you're going to take some soju, maybe a bay leaf, and boil the gopchang, maybe shallow kind of boil in a fry pan real fast. Everything in the Korean kitchen is done pretty fast, right? Almost everything.
Yeah.
And in that soju with the bay leaf, you're going to just toss and bubble that gaminess kind of out of the gopchang. And then you pour off that excess liquid and take away the bay leaf and then start throwing in your other ingredients for your stir fry, which is definitely some onion and some gochujang, some gochugaru, some garlic. And a little bit later, you'll start throwing in cabbage, maybe carrots, and then finally the perilla.
And then giving you that spice is the gochugaru, right? The chili pepper flakes. And so you can kind of adjust the amount of that depending on your tolerance. And this isn't one of those crazy spicy dishes, right? It's not like puldag or something like that, fire chicken.
No, they'll often give you some of these little guys, the little choyang gochu on the side to put in your sam.
Yeah.
If you really like spicy. And then some folks, will go a whole meal and not touch those.
Yeah.
Just depends on what you're into.
And maybe some raw garlic as well.
Oh, always. I love it. But that one surprised me. I kept trying to cook the garlic and they're like, get that off there.
Just eat it raw. Like, there are many meat places. It's a bit confusing where you can cook the garlic in a little tub, a little metal container with some, sesame oil. But some parts of the sam, it's essential to have the raw garlic because you get a crunch and they might slice it as well. And that's perfect. I'm really jealous. I wanted to try your Gopchangbokkeum because I'm getting more and more into gopchang, the small intestines. It looks so good as well.
I wish I could go back in time and see what my perception of this would have been, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
A first bite, because right now I just absolutely love it.
Exactly.
There's a different distinct flavor, but it's one of my favorites now.
Yeah, and like you said, like some people would describe it as gamey, but remember in Korea, we don't like the smell of meat, so we'll often, like you've said in the past, run cold water over a chunk of meat overnight, right? And we don't like the smell of lamb, the smell of pork.
Right.
Whereas in the West, that's kind of just part of the deal. So it's not crazy gamey, but there is certainly that undertone to it, yeah.
And when I first got here, yes, there are plenty of restaurants serving these kind of things, but especially like the iron griddle ones and then the barbecue ones. In the last, I guess it's 8 years or so, there's been a real renaissance of these.
Yeah.
Like when I first got here, if I met younger Koreans and I asked if they ate this, a lot of folks would say, "Oh no, only old people eat that stuff. That's weird." But about 8 or 9 years ago, it came into the mainstream again, and you started seeing so many restaurants pop up.
Yeah.
I think that's calmed down just a little bit here recently, but it still is not something that scares most people off.
No.
Most people are really into at least the grilled ones or the iron griddle ones without all the other ingredients. But this is a common food truck you might find in your neighborhood once a week.
Yes.
A guy sitting making this exact dish or possibly adding sundae to it too.
Yeah.
And for those are pretty cheap. I'd say like maybe 12,000 won or 15 or 20, depending on the size you order. It's a lot of food.
Yeah.
Two people would be pretty well satisfied for about $10.
Yeah, this is very similar to, we did the sundebokkeum, didn't we? Which is the kind of blood sausage with the glass noodles inside. So you could have gopchang in there, you could have just sundae or just gopchang like we've got today, and they're all pretty similar flavor profiles. Lilith says, as a Chinese person, I've always gotten some weird looks from Westerners when I say I eat intestines, and I just remind them, sausages are intestines, the casings on them, absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Siska says, I love chicken intestines the most, especially when deep fried, then pork intestines cooked in a sekpa soup. Beef intestines is last on my list. We don't eat chicken intestines here, right? Like, how?
No, we don't.
They must be tiny.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them in some of the foreign food markets, and I'm gonna have to research a little bit because I honestly don't know how to go there.
No, but deep fried, I'm guessing they would be crunchy, and that would be nice. And then Matari from Trinidad and Tobago says, I've never had beef intestines, but I've had goat intestines curried, and those are good. Yeah, goat is...
Oh, I bet.
I wanted to say it's not something we eat, but we do for like health and medicinal purposes have the hugyomso, right? The black goat. But I don't know about the intestines.
Where are those intestines going?
Yeah, because like you said, we make use of it, but maybe not with that. And then we've also got Edward saying, do you do gopchang only, or do you also do makchang? So, yeah, makchang is, I don't know, it's much more of a chewier, denser part of the cow. So my son really doesn't like that. He likes all the softer tasting ones, but I like makchang. You can really spend a lot of time. It's almost like gristle.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. But, it really depends on the time and temperature cooking it, too. You can get it just right, but it's a little tricky. And then, of course, was it previously frozen? Most of the restaurants, though, they sell out every day. It's all real fresh.
Yeah, and we've also got Ed saying, where can we find your gopchang if we wanted to eat some? This isn't a regular dish that you're selling, Ryan, is it?
Oh, no, sorry. No, I'm not selling this. But I do, like I said, I really love tripas tacos, and that's a beef small intestine. But you get that gopchang at the market, and it's not cheap, guys. I want to say there's like 15,000 won a kilo. So that's like the price of beef, like the price of a blade steak or maybe a brisket these days.
Yeah.
And and you braise that in a lot of different Mexican spices and stuff. And then when it comes time for service, you throw it on a plancha or a griddle and crisp up the edges and cut that up and throw it in a taco with some lime and a little onion and cilantro. And
wow, that must be amazing in a taco with that texture. And apparently in Spain, they do tripas with tomato sauce, apparently, which does sound good as well. And Ed says, yeah, if you dropped a link to a restaurant or whatever, we, the ARIRANG Radio listeners, would make sure they're well patronized. In Sadang, which is very close to ARIRANG, on this side, so on the Pangbe side, they have 4 or 5 really good Gopchang places. One of them is always packed, so that must be the best one. So if you want a spot to go to, Sadang. Look for Sadang Station. It's on line 2 and 4, I believe, and check that out. Right, we'll be back in part 3 to finish talking about Gopchangbokkeum, or the small intestine stir-fried. Check out Ryan's video. We keep it on in the song break as well. Here's Chuje featuring Kim Suk, Hong Jin-kyung, Cho Se-ho, and Chang Woo-young, Flower Brain. And we're back for part 3. Dish of the day was Chef Ryan Phillips in his kitchen with his Gopchangbokkeum, eating it, enjoying it with the fresh perilla leaves, and it looks so good. I'm so very jealous. I've seen the trick where to get more of the flavour out of the perilla leaf and get more of the scent, you kind of slap it on your hand. And
no kidding?
Yeah, like, because I don't know, like with a tangerine, for instance, you need to scratch the skin to get the scent out, right? It doesn't just smell that good by itself. But if you break some of the, I guess, membranes and stuff like that, it has worked for me on occasion, although not that I really adore the scent of it anyway. We got some more messages as well on the chat. DQ says, I don't find tripe really smelly. I like the Chinese braised version. And I think in the bokkeum as well, because there's other flavours, you're not necessarily disguising it, but it's making it less, I guess, noticeable.
Yeah, I love that Chinese braised tripe too. Every time I go to my favorite like Chinese restaurants, I have to order that.
Yeah.
And this is not so different from that dish, really.
And looking back at the history, our writer gave us some information. It came out in cities to become really popular in the 1960s and 70s, because gopchang has existed for a long time, but the stir-fried style came about then, especially when we were looking for things that are cheap and easy to eat. And then now it is still seen, maybe like you said, it was looked down upon by the younger generation at one point, but now just a casual dish to go and have with friends as you're drinking. Although, saying that, we've talked about how the MZ generation, a lot of the younger ones, are not drinking as much alcohol anymore. And so I think the dishes that people are seeking, the anjus, the side dishes, are becoming very different as well.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Yeah.
But boy, at that tamale pop-up, people were drinking plenty.
And then this is another dish where if you have it cooked in front of you, you could have it with the rice as a finisher with the seaweed flakes, like a 볶음밥 at the end,
the
right?
볶음 at the end. That's so true. So then again, I mean, you're getting so much food. And okay, so back in the day, we mentioned it was really, really inexpensive. Even today, if you go to a market, like in Suwon, by that Hwasong Fortress, the UNESCO site, the Hwasong Fortress wall.
Yeah.
There's a big old market there. And inside, every single little restaurant inside the building there does some version of this. And as you walk in, people are shouting at you like, oh, go over here. Over here is the best. Over here is the best. And it's usually Gopchangbokkeum or sundae and Gopchangbokkeum. And I don't think it's any more than 20,000 won for the smaller portion.
Yeah.
So about 10,000 won person. And you're going to be stuffed,
It's more than enough there, yeah.
It's a lot of food. Yeah.
In terms of people who haven't cooked small intestines before then, like you said, you're boiling it off in the soju to start off with to make sure everything's cooked. So then when you're frying it, is there a certain point at which you need to take it out? Is it something that's going to be really bad if you under or over fry it?
Yeah, if you overdo it, it gets extra rubbery, and yeah, you don't want to undercook it.
No.
It is. But I'd say 8 minutes on a plancha or on an iron griddle.
Yeah.
And it's cooked through. You'll see it tighten up, and yeah. Plus, in the boiling part, you've also cleaned it so much then, and cooked it quite a bit there too. So
yeah,
I like to get a little bit of crispy edges on them.
Yes,
but hopefully without overcooking it too much,
without burning them. Yeah, I prefer it on that side rather than the less cooked side, because then you are feeling more like, oh, this is something's intestine. I can feel it in my mouth. Because when you have this in other ways, there's a 곱창볶음, which is often with the soup as well. And then, I don't like it because some of the gopchang is not smooth on the outside. Like there's these little bits of, I don't know, I guess it's been attached to other parts of the body. And that's kind of all wiggly and squiggly, and I don't like that. And when it's in the chongol, the hot pot, basically, small intestine hot pot, you can really feel and see it more and taste it more as well. So that's not my favorite way. Yeah.
I like all those weird things. And I got to say, man, I tried slapping the 깻잎. I've never done that before, and it definitely did stand out more.
Right? It does something, because I think you snap the backs of it and the membranes, and something pops out as well.
It definitely, because now here's one without slapping it. Yeah.
It might also be psychological. I don't know.
Interesting.
Because there's one side that you're meant to slap, and I was like, that doesn't seem scientific because you're squeezing both sides. So what does it matter? Edward says, it's so good. You guys describing the daejang and the gopchang, you have me salivating while I'm sitting at my desk at work. I think I'm going to have to grab some for lunch today. Yeah, I don't think it's a common lunch dish, but you could probably find it. And then it's definitely more of a dinner time thing, like we said, with drinks, with friends and things like this. These days you can find meal kits for everything, including this as well. We've tried one and it wasn't bad at all. And like we mentioned earlier, that there's other things that are all put in this kind of category but aren't exactly the same. The makchang is the part of the pig's intestine, large intestine, right?
Large intestine.
Yeah, and so that has a real chew to it. There's also something called yang. Yang, which is not lamb, but yanggogi is lamb meat, so it's confusing. But I think that's part of the stomach of a cow. There's like so many different stomachs, right? And that has a texture to me like you're chewing your tongue. So it's kind of dangerous when you are like drunk. And I've bitten my tongue before while chewing yang because it really got that bite. But that's also delicious as well. My favorite sauce for all of these is like a soy sauce with a bit of kyaja, like mustard in it. And that gives it a good kick to it. That's delicious.
Now, there's a dish here that is one of my absolute favorites. And it's just called innard stew, nejangjang.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just innard stew. And it's usually beef innards. But there's all different variations. And then there's a clear broth one, and then there's a red broth one. And that clear broth innard stew, I would talk to the folks at the restaurants that I loved and I would go to often and be like, so what is this part? What is this part? And they would laugh and they would say there are 11 different innards from the cow in there that arrive here every day,
Amazing.
And yeah. And if you're really curious about this and want to learn more about it, let me know. I won't get too descriptive for everybody out there because I know it freaks some people out. But the absolute nicest people I've ever met in any of the markets are the ones that are hiding in the basement 2 at Gopchangbokkeum. And I say they're hiding. I think maybe the powers that be chose to put them out of the public eye so much, but they're doing good work, and they've got some great ingredients to play with. And if you've never tried them, go. I know for a fact that at least in Texas, there are Korean restaurants that are now serving a lot of these things, and they may not be, they're not going to be quite as good as they are here, I imagine, because here it's just so incredibly fresh. But give it a shot. Some of my family has, and they have grown to like it.
Yeah,
or
and
at least
if you don't like
understand it.
yeah, what have you got to lose? You're just expanding your palate and your horizons, and knowing maybe not to have it again, right? As I
There you
was
go.
so regretful for most of my life, I didn't try anything, right? That's the real crime. If you don't like it, fine, but you've got to at least try it. Would you say, in the West and maybe other countries, find this at your local butchers? There's probably countries where this is just not going to be available there.
Yeah, maybe in the freezer section, you might, but it'd have to be an old school kind of supermarket.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not a common thing. There's not enough of a market for it.
And like you said, it goes off
I think
quickly.
then you go, right. So I think then you go online, but then you're going to be dealing with frozen stuff. I have heard that at least in Koreatown in LA, because there is such a demand for it, they get some of the best fresh, and it's incredibly cheap because there's not a great big market for it.
Yeah.
And so they must have found a local, beef processor, pork processor, and just made a deal with them to get good stuff. Because some of my Korean American friends have mentioned that Koreatown around the edges of LA have some of the best Gopchangbokkeum.
That sounds amazing. Ryan, thank you so much for doing the Zoom link up. We'll see you back in the studio next week.
Yes, sir. Have a good day, man.